Oh, Canada, you win in overtime and dashing American dreams everywhere of vastly kinds. We're going to break this one down. Somebody in the panel is going to be very happy. And me and Felix have to take on the bet because Jules couldn't keep her mouth shut while she's hiding at a rehearsal. Right now, this is Four Nations After Dark, the finale of Four Nations After Dark on Teal Town, USA. And we say good evening to you all over the world, and especially in North America. Team Canada wins the likely only time the Four Nations face off. They get the fancy trophy, they get medals, they get cash, and most importantly, go back to their NHL teams hurt like moflickas. But nonetheless, they are celebrating because they defended their country with a victory over the United States. We welcome you to this edition of Four Nations After Dark here on Teal Town, USA. Your live interactive sharks, excuse me, because there's no sharks in these tournaments. Your live interactive USA Canada post-game show. So if you want to be part of the show, chat with us and hockey fans all over the world on the YouTube page or the app. Tell your friends. Let's get this big, please. For the love of God, please. Follow us on the social. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Find everything at tealtownusa.com. And if you want to support the pod, you can do so on Venmo at tealtownusa. With that, I say good evening to Felix. I love your background there, bud.
Almost like somebody lost a bet and I got a cover for them.
Yeah, it's not like we lost a bet or anything. I mean, what is this light? I mean, look, I'm representing the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
I like it. I dig it.
So
you got the Canada shirt in the background. I dig it. I approve.
And the very happy, the
happy Canadian robot, which is
the happy,
weird.
Come on, Gloat, let's go.
Look at man. No, look at. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm disappointed by the results. Obviously, I'm really happy with the results. I think that this is a hell of a tournament, man. Like, I give the USA full marks for what they did in this tournament. I mean, this game goes to overtime. I can understand people being a little pissed off with the no call on the too many men, because that definitely was too many men. But here we are.
Here we are, and Ian is celebrating nicely. I know it's close to midnight over there and everything, but any celebratory going on outside?
No, it's too cold. No one's going outside. It's fucking way too cold. We're all just like huddled in our houses and being happy.
Gotcha. Well, I just say,
I mean, maybe there is. Let me check the weather. How cold is it outside right now?
Right now as well.
Gotcha.
I'll even give it to you in freedom units. Let me change it to freedom units. Give me a second. It is 16 Fahrenheit outside.
That's balmy. What are you talking about?
And it feels like 7 Fahrenheit with the wind chill.
Okay.
That's not too bad at all. Yeah.
It's fucking cold. It's miserable.
Right. Let's get to this one right now. Nathan McKinnon starts the scoring with a shot that there's no way in hell Connor Hellebuck saw to make it 1-0. Nice one here, Felix.
Yeah, look, Nathan McKinnon. Like, what else can you say?
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, like you said, all that traffic in front. Hellebuck's not seeing that. And Nathan McKinnon again is Nathan McKinnon. His edge work is really good. His hockey sense is really good, and he can apparently score. And
yeah. AJ, Ian isn't in Philly. They aren't tipping cars in San.
Oh my god.
Nor did they grease their light poles either.
No. Yeah, the Nathan McKinnon goal, obviously, I think Like a really nice shot from McKinnon, but I mean like the play in front of the net, like everyone McKinnon drawing 3 guys, and then like Hellebuck never saw that puck until it was in the net. So it's obviously a good shot by McKinnon, who obviously goes on to be the MVP of the tournament with I think 4 goals or something silly like that. Just big tournament for him.
Yeah, so that made it 1-0, and then a dump and chase turnover leads to San Ramon native Austin Matthews kind of setting up Brady Tkachuk for the tying goal here. And
get to the net. I mean, good things happen when you go to the net.
Yeah, no one had him.
Yeah.
Like Brady Tkachuk, I mean, talk about like Brady Tkachuk. We need to get Brady Tkachuk in the playoffs. That's all there is to it, right? No, look at I think Brady Tkachuk obviously I know, just intense. Obviously he gets out in front, and he kind of slithers through everybody, and like nobody takes him. And he scores a lot of goals like that. He's just a guy who always plays hard, goes hard to the net, and nobody had him, and that's not good.
Nope.
It's a balmy 19, feels like 5 in Erie. Oof, yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Wait, in Erie, are we talking Fahrenheit or Celsius here?
Those are definitely freedom units.
Oh my God. So game tied up at 1. We go into a second where both teams would get on the goal scoring prowess again. However, this time it would be the Americans taking the lead, thanks to Jake Sanderson, who I mean, how are you saying, Ian, that they're waiting for him to fall, or his teammates were going to make him fall?
Yeah, Jake Sanderson, poor Jake Sanderson, because when they talk with Quinn Hughes possibly joining the team, like they had like just all the silly memes and stuff about Jake Sanderson. So I was actually kind of happy that he got this goal. Not happy for him, right? Because I think like he was obviously the guy that people were like, oh man, well if they could just go into the room and just murder this poor guy, they could have Quinn Hughes, but no, apparently not.
And Felix, for a guy who filled in at the last minute, nice to see Sanderson get paid huge dividends for.
Yeah, no, and I for me, Sanderson, like aside from the 4 nations, I know obviously he's he scored here, but like he's from everything I've heard, he's been having a hell of a year, and so this is not surprising. I think it's really good for him to get on the scoreboard here, and I think Ottawa has a really bright future with them on the blue line.
Yeah, Ottawa, Ian, benefiting from the Americans big time once they go back with Sanderson and Brady Tkachuk here.
Yeah.
So Kevin Lacey saying Jake Sanderson, the guy who PK Subban practically said, "Has anybody heard of this guy? He's pretty good."
Oh, PK.
Right? Oh, PK. You had a good quote earlier in the week, and then what happened? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So so the made it 2-1 USA. A little nervousness, but the Canadians would come back with the ever. This was a sweet shot from Sam Bennett, but also a nice feed from Mitch Marner.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really much to say. Again, like Sam Bennett gets in close like that, and again, like I think you probably want Hellebuck to have that, but at the same time, that's a hell of a shot to put it right in that corner.
Yeah, that's going upstairs.
I don't feel like I don't think that the goaltending was the story in this game at all, other than maybe keeping the score low. Because I know like a lot of people, I think Connor Hellebuck's probably going to clown out again about like not being good in the big game and blah 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 blah. But I think Connor Hellebuck was fine this game. He just unfortunately he just couldn't stop that McDavid shot in overtime.
Yes, but I mean, Go ahead, Felix. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna use that to segue to but if you had something else going, but
No. Go ahead. I insist.
oh yeah. No, I was just saying as we segue into the that OT winner that McDavid had.
Yeah, I got a few things to gripe here. Okay, I'm gonna hang on to every little angle of this. Okay, what are we doing, USA? What are we doing?
Bold move
What are
by
we doing? What are we doing?
leaving.
Hang on, excuse me. I'm gonna pull you guys out.
Oh yeah. Sure.
What are you doing, USA? You are not the Sharks. You don't puck watch. You have 3 guys there. I mean, AJ, where are you? This is like that Buffalo meme from years ago where they like 4 or 5 Buffalo Sabres were chasing Joe Thornton. What are you doing here? And what happens? Oh, sure, yeah. Leave one of the best players in the world alone.
Yeah, you can't.
You cannot.
You cannot leave Connor McDavid that open in overtime. I don't care. Like you could have.
I'm sorry, but who's watching the back door? Who's watching? Like nobody seems to have anybody there. You know.
Yeah.
But I think it's like it's kind of similar to the McKinnon goal too, where they just one player draws too many guys. And I don't know how you leave McDavid that wide open, but if you do, you leave McDavid open there, like that's just you're in bad trouble.
Yeah, that's just oh god.
Yeah. It's McDavid that you just can't leave McDavid open at the point like that.
No. I mean, I'll give credit to whoever was checking Braden Point, and the other guy was, covering up his defender. That's fine, but
like the guy behind the net usually isn't the most dangerous guy. It's the guy in the slot. So
yeah.
I mean, but everyone's. I think the thing is like, and it's easy to be super critical here, but like everybody on the ice is dangerous. Like you said, like it's Braden Point. Like who's behind the other defense is Braden Point. Like you can't like it's not good coverage. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, you can throw stones at a lot of guys, but yeah, I mean you're probably right. Your center should be there. I agree. That's probably Matthews.
Yeah,
Matthews should be the guy that should be there. I would concur on that. But like everyone, like it's overtime.
Sure. Yeah.
People do.
No, I don't disagree there.
People do dumb shit.
Yeah.
So that is the overtime championship winning goal.
Yeah.
For Team Canada. They win 3-2 in probably one of the most exceptional tournaments we've seen in some time, guys. I mean, that was a pretty awesome time indeed. But
just laughing at some of the stuff on Twitter.
So here, Ian, because Jules isn't here, we'll do it this way. All right, we'll get the guy singing it for you as the NHL has tweeted out.
Oh gosh.
We play the whole national anthem.
Look at the Americans, just so sick.
We've just lost half the audience. Like we're gonna go on the audio and everyone's gonna be like, "Yeah, this is enough of this bullshit."
Yeah.
I don't. I'm sorry. I'm talking over my own national anthem, but
we're listening to the effing song. There you go.
So I do want to get some stuff in the chat though, because I
Go
think
for it.
Dan Groen here saying gotta love the no calls by the refs. Look at I think the too many men was a big one. And I will completely concede that absolutely should have been called. But other than that though, like you knew that this was gonna get called like a game 7. You're gonna have to it was gonna have to be something super stupid obvious for them to call a penalty, but that too many men was pretty fucking brutal. And I think if I'm an American fan, I'm pretty pissed off at that. But I'm also pissed off that Connor McDavid was left in the slot with no one covering him. So, Marty T and Lammy sung the national anthem together. I wish I was with you guys there, but we were on air. Hank is upset that I am taking this win gracefully and not gloating. I don't know, man. I've never been, I don't know, man. Like, how do I explain? I've never been that guy. Like, I think that I think humility, whether in victory or defeat, I think humility is a personality trait that I wish more people had. I don't know, man. It's being humble's a good thing.
Yeah. It's a tough one. But
I want to see obnoxious. I'm not like, but I don't really get obnoxious. I mean, I do sometimes, but I usually get more obnoxious in anger than I do in the situation here. And here's the other thing too, right? Like, I'm happy. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I when everyone was busting my balls in the chat, and I basically, I do want to point out that I did say after the loss in the round robin that it didn't matter because we were going to come back and we were going to win this game. It was, it was one game and we were going to win the important one. I was right, of course. So that's as obnoxious as I'm going to get. But no, I don't know, man. Like, I do acknowledge that like most of our audience is American. So obviously I don't want to come completely abrasive to people. Yeah.
But if there is ever a time, it would be right now. Am I right?
Yeah.
But you're taking it humbly, and it's a good. I salute you and I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
But
if the Sharks win the cup, I'll absolutely dish.
That's when we'll just
look
go
at
off.
It's a Sharks podcast, so I'm allowed to be as obnoxious as I want if the Sharks win the cup.
Yeah.
That's where we
have I don't know how many games are left in the season.
25.
We have 25 games plus puck knowledge. Like we have a lot of shows left to do this year. We don't want to lose half our audience now.
Oh jeez. Looking over the stats for this, Zach Rowinski with the leader in the tournament was 6 points. Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby tied for 5. Nathan McKinnon was like the leader with goals with 4. Who was behind him besides Connor McDavid? Brady Tkachuk, Jake Gensel, and former Shark Mikael Granlund from Finland. So
Mikael Granlund had a hell of a tournament, man. Like,
yeah, no, for sure.
He had media humility also, and I fucking told you so. Well, look, people wanted me to say something. I had to just remind them that look, you guys came at me in the chat, busting my balls, and I did tell you so. So
again, Jules, when you watch this, stop making bets.
Yeah, so we had so the bet was that I made with Jules, like if the game would have went the other way, I had an American background that I was going to throw up, but obviously that did not happen. So but that was the thing. Actually, I was surprised because for those that don't know, I live in a border city. So on the weekend, I was in Sioux, Michigan, and I went to the Walmart over there, and I could not find an American flag. So I wanted to have one handy just in case I was wrong, which I wasn't. Again, I just want to remind everybody I was not wrong. And I could not find an American flag, and I was appalled because I'm like, there's no way. Like it's the US. Like flags are everywhere. Apparently not, or at least I didn't look in the right spot.
So, all right. Well,
How many Sharks fans? Nando asking how many Sharks fans do I see in my neck of the wood? Not many. I know a couple, but yeah, I know of like 2. I feel like that I know personally anyway. Probably not many though.
So a great tournament all around. I mean, let's be honest here. Quote unquote, every road team won. Go figure. I
That's the only thing. I think that's the one thing that I do kind of I feel bad about for Team USA is they played their best games in Canada. They were obviously incredibly shorthanded against Sweden. And then obviously the championship game, Canada wins. But like, I'm sad that people didn't like live get to see how good that US team was. Because I think it's something good. Like Kevin said something in the chat earlier. I'm gonna see if I can scroll up and find it here. Kevin saying the NHL needed America to win both 2010 and this year to grow long term. Invested interest from new fans. Instead, it'll be another one-off spectacle that most Americans will move on from tomorrow. And I don't disagree. I mean, again, I don't.
No,
I am happy Team Canada won, but I do think that. But I do think it's like it's something where if you want to get more fans invested, obviously winning does that. I think the thing that I look at is how much the women's game has grown, and I feel like it's grown not only because like they've, you know, obviously the women's game is always at the Olympics and they have the world champions for it and stuff, but it's also because it's not a one-sided thing, right? Like it's kind of gone back and forth. America's won a fair number of these matchups, as well as the Canadians do. So I think that's a big part of the reason why the women's game has grown as much as it has.
And I think just from the limited PWHL games that I have had the pleasure of watching on YouTube, the takeover tour that they're having is really, really enticing. Like it's really
Yeah.
They've been going to a lot of great spots: Seattle, Colorado, Calgary, Edmonton. I mean, it's just been fantastic to see, and it's nice to have it. So, you know.
Yeah, and I think, but I think that's how you grow. Like, I think not, and this is where the NHL has really stubbed their own toe, is that we've gone 9 years without this. For why? Because ownership can't see past their own nose. Like it's so stupid that we've gone 9 years without this. Now, the benefit of this is like, when does Team USA get a chance to get revenge? In the Olympics next year, right?
Yeah.
And again, I think like the Olympics is where I think you're going to do, like, you could do a lot to grow the game, because obviously like winning, I think, would be, as much as I don't want it to happen, but like I do acknowledge that winning would at the Olympics would be huge for Team USA. But even just like being good, and even if you're playing, like, you know, even if you're leaving with another silver medal, like that still does a lot to grow the game. So I think it's gonna get more eyeballs that wouldn't normally tune in for a Stanley Cup final. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The tough part, I think, like I said on our live stream earlier, is that for us, since we are a Sharks podcast, the Sharks are having the toughest time gaining any momentum off of this, you know, wise, because they'll be going about a month without playing a home game, and that's at least 2 weeks for that, as they would embark on a 7-game road trip. Not the least of which they were one of 2 teams that didn't have any representation in this tournament. Obviously, Mikael Granlund was with the Sharks for most of the time, but he's now a Dallas Star. And, you know, the lack of limited coverage, mainly because of the NBA All-Star Game being here in the Bay Area, definitely takes its toll big time here. So a little bit more of up climbing to do for the Sharks locally. Globally, I'm with you guys. I mean, 2026 is going to be the big one, and
I just hope the game, like the games, the only crappy thing about the Olympics when they're in Europe is that the games are not always on at a accessible time.
Yeah.
So you're watching like tape, like you know they'll get shown on a prime time, but we'll
Mhm.
already know the winner.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it is that is what it is. But it been then what we're for when's it in Salt Lake again?
2034.
Okay, so we got 2 more Olympics and then 2034. Okay.
Right. So I don't know where they are in 2030.
Me neither. But then 2034, they're back in the US, and the NHL is obviously going to want to be there, and I think that's the thing where the owners like were kind of screwed themselves, right? Because obviously they had to go to Sochi because it was in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you go back to Beijing, everyone's like, well, no, whatever, you know. Or where did they go before Beijing? 2030 is France. That's right. Yeah,
Right.
French Alps. Yeah, France. Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
French
so that's
Alps.
good.
And then 2034 is Salt Lake.
Salt Lake. So they'll obviously want to be back for Salt Lake.
Yeah.
But I hope the NHL doesn't screw this up, and I hope they keep this international schedule where we're going to have like a World Cup every 2 years, and then Olympics. You know, basically alternating every 2 years between the Olympics and the World Cup. I think that's how you grow the game.
And it's going. I feel for Long Island. They host the next year's NHL All-Star Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I'm sure that's like the lead up to the Olympics.
That is, yes. Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that goes. I mean, the way they I mean, I would say North America versus the world would be like the ideal way to send the guys off to the Olympics.
I can't imagine them going back to that instead of doing the like I feel like the divisional 3-on-3 format, like it's not good, but it's still better than the 5-on-5 games ever were.
Yeah. But
maybe not. Maybe they do go back and do USA versus the world or North America versus the world again. I don't know. Those were fun, but I mean the All-Star game is never going to be good. So I don't
Right.
I don't know why you try.
I know.
Ace 96, it just isn't the same without having to get past the Russian team. Yeah, look at I don't like I do get my backup when people say, oh well, it's not a legitimate thing if the Russians aren't there, because when you look at the medal counts for the games where it's been true best on best and the NHL players have gone, so it's actual best on best and not fake best on best where the NHL plays and they go and clean up everything. They have a silver medal to show for it. That's it. They have 1 medal. So I always do get my backup when people say, oh, this isn't true best on best because Russia isn't there. It's like, not that the Russians aren't good. I think the Russians handicap themselves by having to have an equal number of KHLers to NHLers. Like it's a dumb setup they do, and they kind of handicap themselves. But I don't know. I think other countries have way more medals than they do in pure best on best tournaments.
Yep. Just kind of looking at some of the other tweets going around. Nathan McKinnon was named the tournament MVP. They're apparently playing Nickelback in the Team Canada dressing room.
Shame. Yeah, no, like it was like in this situation, it's a Four Nations thing, right? It's a goofy tournament. We all get that. But like with the NHL players there, like other than the NHL, like in all the Olympics that the NHL players have been there, like the going back all the way to 98 to 2014, and then obviously there was a break for 8 years. That is what Russia has to show for it, is a silver medal.
From Chris Johnston, Sidney Crosby's international resume: gold medal 05 juniors, gold medal 2010 Olympics, gold medal 2014 Olympics, 2015 gold medal World Championships, won the World Cup in 2016, and then the Four Nations here. He's 40. The Team Canada is 48-6 with him wearing a maple leaf. To which I say, when is Austin Matthews getting traded to Pittsburgh for Sidney Crosby? Kidding. Kidding. but overall, Felix, this was an exceptional tournament that that I don't think anybody expected it to be. I think they were kind of expecting it an all-star festivities. Yes, they get to wear their country, but I mean, it definitely took on a higher ground. I think not just from USA Canada, but I would also say Canada and Sweden. How that started things out, and all these games were pretty good ones overall.
Sorry, just before I address that, I just want to point out that Steve Dangle lost his mind when McDavid scored the overtime game winner. But um, yeah, no, this Four Nations tourney was awesome. Like,
It was awesome. Like, it was goofy, but it was awesome
for sure. And
This is, like I put it with the 2016 World Cup, right? Like, goofy but awesome.
Sure, right. Yeah, no, this was freaking awesome. Like, obviously, all the whatever's the politics aside, this was must watch hockey. Like, and here's the thing, like, and I was thinking about this as when we were talking about like the all-star stuff versus the this for those who think that this isn't so okay, how do I put this? Like, I feel like a lot of sports fans out there don't quite grasp the concept of an international tournament. I don't know about you, but I feel like that's kind of the case, and I feel like that's where hockey is different, so to speak. I don't know, but like that's just kind of the impression that I get, like when people are like, oh, so this is sort of an all-star thing, and it's like, no, it's not. And obviously, as we all know, this is not an all-star like weekend. This is this is an international tournament. So it's when people say that, it's like, I mean, obviously you don't really know that it's how it works in this sport. So I don't know, that's just my take.
That's fair. Marty saying, I actually hope this kind of ends the booing. I don't really like booing games. So, yeah, I mean, like, obviously, I think that's I don't like it either. I think it's kind of distasteful to me. I understand the reason behind it, obviously. I understand the anger for sure, because I definitely feel it too. Right. But I think if a protest doesn't make you uncomfortable, then it's not a good protest. Right. But I kind of like, as much as like it sucks that as much as it's going to sound like really hokey, but like I feel like we really needed that. Honestly, like I think that losing this, because of just with everything that's going on with the current climate of things, I think this, if Canada didn't win this game, I think it would have been really devastating to a lot of Canadians. Like we kind of needed this, but like Canada doesn't need. I know it's going to sound really dumb, like a country that is known for generally winning more of these things than they lose, but yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie.
At this point, it basically like every other international tournament Canada plays in, it's basically national pride, right? Like it's so
yeah, and like ours is
doesn't
like under attack, man.
Right.
So Canada wins the Four Nations face-off. These guys will. I mean, it's midnight over there, and I feel for Ian right now. But it's midnight over there. They're gonna celebrate big time. I think I saw Sam Bennett was drinking a Molson while doing interviews after the game online. Yeah, they get to do that tomorrow. They'll wake up with hangovers, and then for some of them, they're playing Saturday afternoon, like Sidney Crosby and Team USA coach Mike Sullivan, as Pittsburgh takes on the Washington Capitals, and that's on ABC down here in the States. So we get back into things, and the best part. Go ahead, Felix.
I was actually gonna get into some big potential expansion news since we're talking about growing the game, but I don't know if you want to cover anything else before that.
We'll just finish this up really quick.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, you have a number of things coming up really quickly. You have 2 weeks before the trade deadline.
Yep.
Which is roughly seven-ish games, give or take, for these teams to find out and where they are. And some of them don't even have they're not clear cut, unlike the Sharks, that know what their plans are at the deadline. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And yes, Hank is saying it right. A fully rested, top-ranked Washington Capitals.
Yes, Frisbee got him too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Washington, along with the Sharks, were the only two teams that did not have a representative at this tournament. So, and let's be honest here, guys. Shea Theodore is out. Charlie McAvoy is out. Matthew Tkachuk did not play a majority of the second half of this tournament.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so, what does that do for the Florida Panthers, who are in first place in the Atlantic? We'll see how it goes, indeed. But as you were saying, Felix, there is some expansion talk.
Yep.
You want to share?
Yes. So I don't know if you actually have the tweet up right now, but I've got it up in front of me, and according to Kevin Weeks from yesterday, he says, in speaking to Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly and other sources involved, I can confirm that there was a recent meeting in NYC with a group expressing their interest in bringing an NHL expansion team to New Orleans.
Get in line.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Obviously with this tournament, definitely is going to be. I got it now. Definitely is going to be a lot of interest in adding or welcoming teams.
Yeah.
I think there was easily talk for 34, Ian, but could the NHL maybe go to 36 at this point? Because there might be a ton of interest and the owners want free money.
So my take on this is I know a lot of people like or don't like, they think that like the teams, there's already too many teams, like, oh well, Major League Baseball only has X teams and the NFL only has X teams. But the thing that I always like to remind people is that yes, the NHL has 32 teams, but 7 of those teams are in Canada, which means that you have US markets that are completely untapped in Quebec City that would like a team back to at some point. So you have markets that are completely untapped, and with the way like the teams make their money by leagues make their money through TV rights. Like that's where a lot of the leagues are making their money now, and that's where the NHL is obviously looking to make their money. Although the US TV right deals, it's going to be a while before they come up again, obviously, because ESPN just got them for a pretty significant amount of time. But that's how you increase it, right? You be in as many markets as possible, and you try to get a foothold in different markets. So I think that even though, like, yes, the NHL has 32 teams and other leagues have those teams, I think the untapped U.S. markets where they're not, as long as you can get stable ownership, which for the most part, I mean, obviously the Arizona situation was not good, and the NHL probably held on there way longer than they probably should have. But again, like if Gary Bettman, gets behind a city, they will do everything in their power to keep a team there. So, it's unfortunate for Atlanta, who's trying to get like a third kick at the can. But like when the Thrashers left, the NHL really had no choice because of how quick that went down. And they had nowhere to put them. I don't know, man. Like I'm all for. I think I've been a big proponent of that's how you grow the game. You put hockey in quote unquote dumb places, and that's how you grow the game, because you start building programs there where you get kids playing hockey. And look, I mean, if it wasn't for the Coyotes, does Austin Matthews pick up a baseball glove or a football instead of a hockey stick, right?
Yeah.
And he's one of the best players in the world. And does that happen without the Coyotes? We don't know.
And speaking of, you mentioned the NHL holding on to Arizona. They still are holding on to Arizona because there might be an Arizona 2.0.
It's one of the biggest television markets in the country.
Mm-hmm. So basically, NOLA is now waiting in line with Houston, who is, I would think, getting first dibs at this, and as you mentioned, Atlanta again, and so
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. I would think, I got to look this up, but I believe the New Orleans Brass of the ECHL did play at Smoothie King Center, which is where the NBA Pelicans play, which is like right next door to the Superdome. The team folded after the state government, which controls Smoothie King Center, was trying to force the brass to pay for converting the arena to ice hockey as the New Orleans Hornets were coming into town. So there hasn't been any hockey in the building in 23 years. It'll be interesting to see if they don't try to get a new building here because when is it built? It was built in. It opened up in 1999, so it'll be interesting to see what it could do.
So
Nando asking, sorry, where would I put more teams though? Obviously, yeah, I think if the way that I kind of see it, I feel like the next two teams, like I feel like there's too much smoke around Atlanta for Atlanta not to happen at this point. Like I feel like Atlanta's an inevitability. I would love to see a team go back to Quebec City. Don't get me wrong. I just think that the problem there is that there's not like a lot of these, like a lot of the American cities where you're putting teams, they have like large metro areas and then they have like a long sprawling suburbs around it. And Quebec City doesn't really have that. Also, I think you have to obviously take into consideration that the Canadian dollar, depending on what happens next geopolitically, the Canadian dollar could take an absolute shit kicking from that. And then there's going to be a lot of Canadian teams in trouble. So the problem with Canadian teams, obviously, is you make your revenue in Canadian dollars and you pay your bills in American. So as much as I'd love to see Quebec City get a team, I think it would be bad. Like I think it's a long shot to get there. Plus, the other problem with Quebec City is there's nowhere in Canada where, again, it still goes back to TV, right? There's nowhere in Canada where you're not being served by an NHL team. Regardless of where you are in Canada, you are in somebody's regional television zone. So like that, it doesn't, adding another Canadian team won't juice the Canadian television market numbers because it doesn't really, you know what I mean? It doesn't really do anything. And again, I'd love to see the Nordiques come back. They built a building. Like the NHL told Quebec, oh, well, you need a building. They built a building. They have a NHL quality building that the Quebec Ramparts play in, which is crazy when you think about it, right? Like you have this huge NHL size arena for a junior team, trying to get the rights. So I'm like, I'd love to get Quebec back, but there's definitely problems there. As far as Toronto goes, I always say this, and I don't know if anyone else is like around Toronto in the chat, but to me, Toronto's not a hockey city. Toronto's a Leafs city. And I don't think could you put another team in Toronto? 100% you could. I don't think it'll do good though. I think Toronto's a Leaf city. It's not a hockey city.
And by the way, I also wanted to touch on the other question. One of the other cities, and Puck, I'll throw it to you. Kansas City, as much as I know you and plenty of other Niners fans shit on the Chiefs, but KC, from what I've seen, is a pretty damn good sports city. So what are your thoughts on that?
It certainly is. Great barbecue, by the way. It can handle it. I mean,
Who's the owner?
That's the catch. Is that there's the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. It's now about a 20-year-old facility because they were trying to get. I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins were like so close to having Sidney Crosby playing there in Kansas City, but a last minute deal got that Pittsburgh building built. We'll see. I mean, it does. And AJ is right. It is a very strong football city. The Royals do okay. When baseball allows other teams besides the Dodgers and Yankees to win games, but it does play opposite of everything. So by the time February rolls around, there is still time left for the KC whoever's. I mean, obviously the Kansas City Blades did fairly well when they were in the International Hockey League, and for many years the development affiliate for the Sharks. But it would be. I mean, this is the second arena that Kansas City built and lost attendance with the Kings going to Sacramento, and just hadn't had a tenant since for it.
Yeah, I think the thing with Kansas City is like it's like does it make sense from a market size perspective? Of course it does. But I've never heard like you've hear of names all the time, right? Like, oh, this guy wants to bring a team here. This guy wants to bring a team here. I've never heard that for Kansas City. I've never heard like a name attached to I want to bring this team to Kansas City. And like they do have a building that would work. That was built, I believe, was built with hockey in mind.
Yeah.
The problem is though, is again, like you're talking like 20 years, like the Philadelphia Flyers, didn't they just announce they're building a new building?
You're right there. Yeah, I think they're
Right. Like, and that like, and obviously that's not going to fly everywhere, but like 20 years is like, that's not going to attract the NHL. Like a lot of people are going to want,
yeah.
a lot of people are going to want new buildings now, right?
Right. The only reason why I bring up Kansas City, aside from seeing that suggested here and there, is I have a cousin who now lives in Kansas City, and recently when I texted him like that news about Nola, getting consideration, is he literally texted me a photo and a pic of a hockey bar in KC, literally that had the Four Nations on, which I thought was really
Nice.
wonderful. But so I'm like thinking, you know what? Maybe there's a point here. I don't know. So
CA making a point too here. Would Toronto adding a team be like the Clippers or the Anaheim Angels, Ducks, and Chargers?
Sure. Yeah, I think people would watch them, but I think it's still in Toronto, so I still feel like it's not like I think people think like, oh, if they put another team in, like we'll get cheaper tickets. There's no fucking way.
No,
They're going to charge the same. They're going to charge the exact same thing they would for the,
Yeah.
especially when they're playing the Leafs or whatever.
Right,
But again, I think it goes back to what I said. Like Toronto isn't a hockey city; it's a Leaf city, and it's always going to be a Leaf city. The Leafs are always going to be king in Toronto. I mean, they've had other teams win championships that they get like some pub, but it's not anywhere near what it would be like if the Leafs won, even when the Raptors won.
Yeah, he said the Raptors didn't even have a good, strong showing when they beat Golden State in 2019, I believe. So,
I mean, people like the Raps. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say like they're not they're not like there, but I just think that the Leafs would blow things out of the water.
Yeah.
Leafs. Yeah. No, it'd be the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be Big Brother. Like you have Leafs, and then hello, Mr. Expansion Team is here.
Yeah. I don't. Would it be fine? Probably.
Yeah.
But I don't think I think it would just be it'd be like Ottawa where the Leaf fans completely take over and the Habs fans completely take over and basically turn it into a home game for the opposite team.
All right. Well, I think that covers it up for everything here.
AJ saying now trending. Congrats to the 51st. No, man. Hats off to the 11th province, which is you.
Can't wait. We're going to end the Canadian Stanley Cup drought with the Sharks soon.
Right.
That'd be awesome.
I hate that that's the rebuttal. It's like, oh, yeah, but you haven't won the Cup since 93. Like, such a stupid thing to say. It drives me. I know it's supposed to grind my gears, but like, it does grind my gears. It always does. It's like, it's not how the NHL works. Like,
yeah.
Gotcha. All right. We're going to wrap this up and call it a tournament. In case you missed anything, or you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or wherever you get your podcast. You can find us on Apple, YouTube Music, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, Odyssey. Of course, you're watching us on YouTube. We thank you very much. Please hit a like as you head out the door. Leave a comment down below if you've watching us on the replay on what you thought of the tournament, this game, the too many men call that didn't happen. And of course, hit that notification bell. That'll make you get notified on when we go live after every single San Jose Sharks game, which, Ian, is an After Dark takeover of a Pucknologist takeover of After Dark as the Sharks begin a 7-game road trip as the Sharks take on the Calgary Flames. That is a 5 p.m. Pacific time start on Sunday, and we'll get into the Sharks a little bit later on, but hockey, gotta love it.
I'm depressed that we have to go back to the Sharks now after this, watching this tournament for.
Just go on Fanatics right now and order your championship shirt already. All right. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Felix, I know you wanted to promote your
Yeah.
yourself with your music that's
So,
coming up. Go at
yep.
it.
All right. So obviously, aside from talking hockey on here, I actually have started a new gig or a job, whatever you want to call it, as a music content creator, and I am actually going to be dropping a first look of first listen of a new song cover that I did. Posted it on Patreon. Is dropping there tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. So if y'all are interested, hit up my Patreon and help support my independent music career. So yeah.
Appreciate that. I'm at Puckguy14 on everywhere. We will be back with you following Sharks and Flames, roughly about 7:30, so just a little bit later than usual for Pucknologists, for an After Dark takeover, Pucknologist takeover after dark. We'll appreciate try to make that a logo, But we appreciate you all coming out and supporting
And-
our thing. Oh,
Sorry,
what?
I should mention, if you're into Ed Sheeran, it's Shivers. That's the cover. So yeah,
Oh my god!
hope you enjoy.
Someone on Twitter
Nice.
just said Freebird died of the avian flu.
So our eggs are going to go up even further. Damn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunate.
All right.
All right. Well, let's get out of here before this gets into a nightmare. Thanks for watching us. And if you watched us throughout the entire tournament, we really appreciate it. So until then, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Canada won a hockey thing again.
Yay!